If I asked 100 people a simple question, how do you become a millionaire? Most of them would give almost the exact same answer. Get a good education, find a high-paying job, work harder than everyone else, save your money, maybe invest a little, and eventually, one day, you'll become rich. It sounds logical. In fact, it's the advice we've been hearing our entire lives. Parents tell us, teachers tell us, financial influencers repeat it every single day. But here's the strange part. If that's really how people become millionaires, why are there millions of doctors, lawyers, engineers, and executives earning six-figure salaries who still live paycheck to paycheck? At the exact same time, there are ordinary school teachers, small business owners, plumbers, electricians, and accountants quietly becoming millionaires. No private jets, no Lamborghinis, no luxury watches, no Instagram lifestyle. So, who's telling the truth? Because both stories can't be right. Here's what almost nobody realizes. Becoming a millionaire isn't about making more money. It's about understanding how money behaves. And those are two completely different things. The problem is, almost everything we've been taught focuses on earning money. Almost nothing teaches us how wealth is actually created. Think about school for a second. You probably learned algebra, geometry, chemistry, history, maybe even trigonometry. But did anyone ever explain why some people build wealth faster than others? Did anyone explain why inflation quietly makes your savings worth less every year? Or why owning one small asset can be more valuable than getting a promotion? Probably not. And that's exactly why so many intelligent people spend decades working without ever becoming financially free. Because intelligence isn't the missing piece. Understanding the system is. Part 1. The millionaire lie. Most people believe millionaires earn more money. But that's not what separates them. Millionaires don't simply earn differently. They think differently about what money actually is. To the average person, money is something you spend. To a millionaire, money is something you deploy. That single difference changes everything. Imagine giving two people $10,000. The first person buys a newer car, a better phone, a luxury vacation, designer clothes. Within a few months, the money is gone. The second person buys shares in a business, invests in an index fund, uses part of it to start a small online business, or buys an asset that produces income. A few years later, both people started with the exact same amount of money. Yet one has nothing left, while the other owns something that continues producing more money. The difference wasn't income. The difference was behavior. And that's the first lie we need to destroy. Money doesn't create millionaires. Decisions do. Part 2. The hidden game. Most people think becoming rich happens in one big moment. A business takes off. A stock explodes. Someone wins the lottery. Someone invents the next billion-dollar app. Those stories make headlines because they're exciting, but they're also incredibly rare. The truth is much less dramatic. Most millionaires become wealthy so slowly, they barely notice it's happening. There isn't one magical day when everything changes. There are thousands of ordinary decisions, made over years, that quietly compound into extraordinary results. That's why becoming wealthy looks boring from the outside. There's no Hollywood soundtrack, no overnight transformation, just consistent decisions, repeated for a very long time. Which brings us to the biggest misunderstanding of all. People confuse income with wealth, and those are not the same thing. Part 3. Income versus wealth. Imagine two neighbors. Both earn $150,000 every year. From the outside, their lives look almost identical. But if you looked a little closer, you'd notice something interesting. One buys a luxury SUV, finances expensive furniture, upgrades to the newest phone every year, lives in the biggest house the bank will approve, and spends almost every raise before it even arrives. The other drives a reliable used car, lives in a modest house, invests every month, keeps monthly expenses low, and quietly buys assets instead of status. 5 years later, the first neighbor still needs every paycheck. The second neighbor could stop working tomorrow, and their investments would continue producing income. Same salary, completely different future. Why? Because income tells you how much money comes in. Wealth tells you how much freedom stays. And those are two completely different games. Part 4. The real secret. Most people spend their lives trying to increase their income. Millionaires spend their lives increasing ownership. Ownership is the game nobody talks about. Because once you own something that keeps producing value, your relationship with money changes forever. Your money starts working, even when you don't. And that's the moment people stop chasing wealth and quietly begin building it. Part 5. Millionaires buy time. Here's something most people never think about. There are only 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter who you are, a college student, a CEO, or a billionaire. Everyone gets the exact same amount of time. Yet somehow, some people make 10 times more money than everyone else. How? Because they've stopped selling their time. Think about your own job. You work for 8 hours, and you get paid for 8 hours. If you stop working, the money stops too. Now imagine someone who owns an apartment building, or an online business, or shares in hundreds of companies through an index fund. Those assets don't care whether the owner is awake, on vacation, or asleep. They keep producing value. That's the difference between earned income and owned income. One depends on your effort. The other depends on your assets. This is why millionaires become obsessed with ownership. Not because they hate working, but because they understand something most people never do. Time is the one thing you can never earn back. You can always make more money. You cannot make more time. So instead of trading every hour for another paycheck, they spend years building assets that eventually buy their time back. And that's when something incredible happens. Their money starts working harder than they do. Part 6. The Invisible Wealth Machine. If there was one force responsible for creating more millionaires than almost anything else, it wouldn't be a brilliant business idea, or winning the lottery, or picking the perfect stock. It would be something far less exciting. Compounding. Albert Einstein supposedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether he actually said it or not, the idea remains true. Imagine two friends. Both invest the same amount every month. One starts at 25, the other waits until 35. The first person only gets a 10-year head start. Yet by retirement, that small advantage can grow into hundreds of thousands. Sometimes even millions of dollars. Not because they invested more, but because time did the heavy lifting. That's the part most people underestimate. They think wealth is built through giant leaps. In reality, it's built through tiny decisions, repeated consistently for years. Every investment, every saved dollar, every asset purchased, every unnecessary expense avoided. They're almost invisible in the moment. But together, they become a machine that quietly grows. Whether you're paying attention or not, millionaires don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems, because systems never get tired. And that's exactly why they win. Part 7. Why most people never become rich. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people never become millionaires, not because they don't earn enough, not because they're unintelligent, and not because they lack opportunity. They stay broke, because every time their income increases, their lifestyle increases with it. A bigger paycheck becomes a bigger house, a better car, a more expensive vacation, a nicer phone, a monthly payment they didn't have before. It's called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the quietest financial traps ever created. The strange part is, it doesn't feel dangerous. In fact, it feels like success. After all, isn't that what working harder is supposed to buy? But every new payment quietly steals something much more valuable: your future freedom. Instead of buying assets, people buy appearances. Instead of investing, they upgrade. Instead of creating cash flow, they create bills. The result? Someone earning $200,000 a year can still feel broke. Because no matter how much money comes in, even more goes out. The wealthy often do the opposite. When their income grows, their lifestyle barely changes. The extra money doesn't disappear into status. It buys more ownership, more investments, more businesses, more assets. And over time, those assets begin paying for the lifestyle instead of the salary. That's why wealth often looks surprisingly ordinary. The richest person in the room isn't always wearing the most expensive watch. Sometimes, they're the one nobody notices. Ending. The Millionaire Formula. So, how do people actually become millionaires? Not overnight, not through secret hacks, not through luck, and definitely not by buying things that make them look successful. They become millionaires by understanding one simple idea. Income creates opportunities, but ownership creates wealth. Every dollar has a choice. You can spend it, or you can give it a job. Most people spend today's money to impress today's people. Millionaires invest today's money to create tomorrow's freedom. That's the difference. Not intelligence, not talent, not even income, just a different system. And once you understand that system, you stop asking, how can I earn more money? You start asking, how can my money earn more money? That single question has quietly created millions of millionaires around the world. Because nobody becomes a millionaire the way you think. They don't chase wealth. They build ownership. One asset, one investment, one decision at a time. Until one day, their money works harder than they ever have. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. The people who look rich often spend money they don't have. The people who become rich quietly build assets nobody sees. Because in the end, wealth isn't about looking successful. It's about becoming financially free. If this video changed the way you think about money, share it with someone who still believes a bigger paycheck is the answer. And if you want to understand the hidden psychology behind wealth, power, and human behavior, subscribe to Cult Nexus. Because the more you understand how the world really works, the less likely you are to become controlled by it.